Hello, this is Eastern Europe Review, a joint production of BELSAT and TVP World with the reports and analysis from Ukraine, Belarus and Russia. I'm Alexandra Shapalina and these are the main stories. Potash lobby in the European Union, who is helping Lukashenka to ease sanctions.
Countries that rely on Latin America or have strong ties with Africa argue that potash from Belarus is crucial for global food security.
The Invisible Man, a Russian illiterate man, has been living without documents for 33 years.
First, I'll learn to read and write, and then I'll choose what I want to specialize in.
We were never sisters. Russian troops detonated the border crossing point between Ukraine, Belarus and Russia.
What's happening is that we're separating ourselves with a crocodile mode from Russia.
Poland has imposed new sanctions on the Lukashenka regime in response to the imprisonment of Andrzej Poczobut, a journalist of Polish origin from Horodna who received an 8-year sentence. Poland and Lithuania are urging other European Union countries to exert increased pressure on Lukashenka. However, there are also some countries attempting to ease sanctions.
Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, the democratic leader of Belarus, conveyed the message to Europe at the BELSAT forum in Bratislava to continue supporting Belarusians in their fight for freedom and to be prepared for the moment when the Kremlin's influence weakens, consequently weakening Lukashenko. This was her main message to Europe.
Now we are dealing with Ukraine, what we are fully support, because Ukrainians now are fighting not for their lands, they are fighting for all the democracies in the world. But don't overlook Belarus, because the war cannot be over until Belarus is free.
Meanwhile, at the same BELSAT forum, some red flags were raised. French President Emmanuel Macron cautioned against adopting a more aggressive approach towards Lukashenko. He suggested that the Western sanctions imposed in 2020 have inadvertently pushed Belarus closer to Russia.
And never forget that Belarus, whatever Lukashenko could be, and it's clear that it was fake elections and it's not a state where rule of law is duly respected, and the elections were not respected, and we were right to be tough. But de facto, it was a country where the president and part of this administration wanted to join NATO and was very careful with Russia. We put him in a situation to be trapped in the hands of the Russians.
That isn't true. Alexander Lukashenko never declared his intention to join NATO. He and Russian President Yeltsin founded the Community of Belarus and Russia 27 years ago, following earlier agreements that established Russian military presence in Belarus. So what does Emmanuel Macron gain from not imposing new sanctions on the Lukashenko regime? According to information from diplomatic circles, France is among the countries that have sought to lift the ban on the transit of potash fertilizers from Belarus through the EU.
Countries that rely on Latin America or have strong ties with Africa argue that potash from Belarus is crucial for global food security. However, it should be emphasized that food security doesn't depend on it. Prices for potash and fertilizers have declined in recent months, and the volume of potash passing through Lithuania is not critical.
Lithuania has called on its EU colleagues to expedite the implementation of new sanctions against Lukashenko. Gabrielius Landsbergis emphasized that if we truly care about the political prisoners in Belarus, we should be advancing with sanctions rather than easing them.
For almost 6 months, we have not adopted any Belarusian sanction package. Because together with the sanction package, there is a request made by several member states requesting actually to remove part of the sanctions. Together, while adding some, remove a lot. And I'm talking about Belaruskali and Belarusian Potash Company.
The Belarusian Democratic Forces highlight the involvement of Belaruskali in the deportation of Ukrainian children. For instance, this state-owned company owns the Dubrava camp in the Salihorsk region, where Ukrainian children from the territories occupied by Russia were taken without Ukraine's consent. There is already evidence suggesting that Russian authorities place these young Ukrainians in foster families or detention centers in Russia, while their Ukrainian parents struggle to locate their children. The Belarusian administration has also implemented its own repressive measures and collaborated with the police and the KGB to detain participants of the miners' strikes in 2020. Potash serves as a lucrative resource for Lukashenko's regime, providing salaries for government officials, police officers, and prison guards.
It's not just about the persecution of political prisoners. Lukashenko's regime is waging a war against the whole Belarusian society. I have presented this information in the Foreign Affairs Committee of the European Parliament, highlighting how Lukashenko's regime is implementing a policy of Russification.
What an irony! In this process of colonizing Belarus, Russia is forming alliances with former European colonies. Brazil, as part of the BRICS organization, alongside India, South Africa, Russia and China, is now urging Portugal to alleviate European sanctions against Belarusian.
We've already proposed. The sanction package is about 200 million euros worth. The derogation package is worth about 8 billion euros.
Additionally, Intelligence Online, a website that is potentially associated with the French intelligence agency DGSE, reports that Russian oligarch Vladimir Potanin is financing black PR campaigns aimed at countering Western sanctions on Russia. Potanin, the second wealthiest individual in Russia, is even rumored to have dispatched representatives to London and Washington for this purpose.
In Russia, a man has been living without a single official document for 33 years. He has never attended school or hospital, and he has had no contact with government agencies whatsoever. Despite being unable to read or write, he has managed to earn money successfully.
Kemerovo is the largest coal mining region in Russia and has been the home of a man who for the past 33 years has identified himself as Nikolai Nikolaevich Sundukov. However, his official name remains unknown, and in the eyes of the Russian state, he doesn't exist formally. There is no information about him in tax or police databases, no records of his birth in the archives, and he lacks any form of identification. The man has never attended kindergarten, school, or any medical facility. Throughout his life, he has never interacted with government agencies.
In my adult life, I've already been raising children. I've given a lot of time to my family. I've worked wherever I was lucky to work. Basically, I haven't been actively involved in anything, and I haven't got a criminal record. That is how I've lived peacefully.
Living an ordinary life, Nikolai has two children, Mira, aged 5, and Ratmir, aged 13. He has been living with the mother of his children for many years, and recently the couple decided to officially register their marriage. They approached the state authorities for this purpose, but the office employees were shocked to learn that the groom didn't even possess a birth certificate. Nikolai had to go to court to prove his existence as a person in order to obtain a passport.
When Nikolai was a child, his mother entrusted him to acquaintances immediately after his discharge from the maternity hospital, after which she disappeared. These people raised him until he reached adulthood, but no official documents have ever been obtained for him.
At the age of 15, Nikolai ran away from home, despite being unable to read or write. He managed to earn money working at a construction site and later learned about car mechanics, finding employment at a service station. Employers were not concerned about his lack of documents as they paid him cash under the table.
I know how to do everything step by step. Some construction work, or I do some work on a house, repairs. Of course, I have no qualifications or education. I learned everything on my own.
A local court has granted the prosecutor's office request to officially recognize the existence of Nikolai Nikolaevich Sundukov. He will soon acquire a Russian passport. Currently, he is working illegally as a packer at a company in Kemerovo, but he is already making plans for the future.
I'll get a passport and an official registration in my apartment. I'll take out state insurance, so I'll be able to access healthcare. I'm interested in how my health is. I'm going to get married to my wife, and I will have my rights to my children established, and officially get some kind of job. It's complicated. I need to get at least basic education. First, I'll learn to read and write, and then I'll choose what I want to specialize in.
Nevertheless, Nikolai is in no rush to enter primary school. He believes he needs to earn money first. However, after receiving his passport, his first priority will be to register with the military recruitment office. Despite being illiterate and not using the internet, he watches Russian propaganda TV channels. Nikolai claims to be aware that Russia has been under attack by Ukrainian fascists. He believes that his homeland, which is about to provide him with his first ever document, requires his protection, and he is prepared to go to war for it.
An explosion occurred near the Russian, Ukrainian and Belarusian border close to the Three Sisters monument on 30th of May. Russian troops detonated the Chernihiv-Bryansk road close to the renowned monument. What was the motive behind this action, and was the Ministry of Defense of Belarus aware of it? We will reveal the details in our next story.
A powerful explosion occurred at the border point where the borders of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus meet next to the Three Sisters monument. Pro-Russian war correspondents disseminated a video of the incident on the evening of May the 30th. They claimed that the road was blown up in order to block the enemy's access route.
It's great that they did it and showed it. So what's happening is that we're separating ourselves with a crocodile mode from Russia, and I hope this will last for a very long time. I wish someone would have blown up the monument itself. There are no three sisters or brothers or eldest or youngest. I don't know who holds which rank or position.
The Three Sisters monument was inaugurated on May 3, 1975, as a tribute to the friendship among the peoples of the three Soviet republics, Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia. It was intended to symbolize the unity between these nations. From its inauguration until 2016, the International Festival of the Slavic Peoples took place near the monument.
If they begin to undermine such symbolic roads, it suggests the implementation of a contingency plan aimed at limiting the infiltration of sabotage groups into Russian territory. But then again, we need to remember that sabotage groups do not enter via the main roads.
The Bryansk Oblast FSB Border Guard Department appears to be relatively calm regarding the explosion.
Взрыв был возле нашего там монумента, и насколько ситуация опасная, что нам делать? Стоит ли куда-то выезжать, не стоит?
Все хорошо. Не беспокойтесь.
Ну, то есть никакой опасности нет.
Опасности никакой нет, все хорошо.
Military and political observer Ihor Levchenko acknowledges the possibility that the road bombing could have been a propaganda operation orchestrated by the Bryansk regional leadership.
It is intended to demonstrate to the central authorities their ability and proactive measures to prevent a situation similar to what happened in the Belgorod region. Additionally, it aims to assure the population that they're not idle, that they're there for a reason. They're not as ineffective as the people in the Belgorod region.
The reception room of Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Hrenin is also providing reassurance. Meanwhile, Viktor Hrenin has reported that the so-called House of Representatives of the Belarusian parliament has ratified the protocol on regional security with Russia. It includes provisions for the potential deployment of Russian regional military units on Belarusian territory.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching Eastern Europe Review. We will be back next week with the news stories. I'm Alexandra Shapalina. Keep watching TVP World and see you next time.